I want to unpack Barbie a little bit. Unbox Barbie, maybe we
I
should
was
say.
going to say, yeah, get out the
Um,
cellophane wrapping.
Now, the question is, why is this movie being made? And obviously, the obvious answer is because it will sell lots of Barbie dolls, I suppose. But there are easier ways of doing that than hiring Greta Gerwig, I would have thought, to make your sort of merchandise-tastic blockbuster. And again, it goes back to this question of woke. Are they making a film that's trying to comment ironically on what Barbie used to be and can no longer be in this sort of more progressive world that we're in? What do you think about it?
I think it's really just an organic evolution of a brand replatforming that the Barbie brand especially actually has been on for quite a few years now. They have a really lovely vlogging platform for Barbie as a character online where kids had tips for mental well-being and mindfulness and kind of, taking care of themselves during the pandemic. In 2020, they also had a great vlog where Barbie with a friend talked about racism following the Black Lives Matter uprisings in the US and elsewhere. So they've been on that sort of trajectory for more progressive and inclusive companion content already. And well, interesting enough, actually, Barbie isn't the only Mattel property that's getting the Hollywood treatment. In fact, Mattel has, I think, coming up on a dozen projects in the pipeline. And interestingly enough, all of them with different studios in Hollywood. So there's, next to Greta Gerwig, you've also got Lena Dunham, who's the Ghost creator, working on a movie about Polly Pocket. And Tom Hanks is attached to a Paramount feature on a 1969 doll range, which is an astronaut doll called Major Matt Mason. So, boomers are kind of getting their childhood memories recontextualized as well. And I think less than, the wokeification of Barbie, it's more about retelling these stories for, yes, both nostalgic adult generations, so sort of looking back on the memories they made themselves with active play and recontextualizing them with these narrative features, but then also telling those stories for the upcoming generation and alpha and beta generations who are much more diverse than the millennials and Gen Z and Gen X generations who originally played with these toys in the 80s and 90s, and just reflecting their experience and actually giving them a narrative that enables them to see these toys in the context of their own lives. And also doesn't have to all be children and toy centric. In fact, there's one, I believe Blumhouse Productions, the American horror production company, are working on a feature around the Magic 8 Oracle Ball. So
Oh.
basically, yeah, it's quite riveting. I think we can essentially talk about the emergence of like a Mattel cinematic universe here. And there's interesting moves happening internally. They've just hired a former Disney exec to be the lead for IP and franchises. So I think we actually have a lot more to look forward to from Mattel in terms of expanding their product lines with a really deep entertainment and storytelling background. I have really cool, more diverse ranges. Obviously, recently they had many celebrity tribute dolls. For instance, the Maya Angelou one last year sold out within 2 days. And I think just 2 or 3 weeks ago, they launched a Laverne Cox doll, which also makes it the first transgender doll in their range.
What else have you been working on or seeing or being excited by at the moment?
Um, Excited may be a bit of a strong word, but I'm definitely deeply intrigued by Netflix's moves into mobile gaming.
Mm.
Um, It still seems a bit scattershot at the moment, but I think this is also part of the idea of actually building a broad foundation for your own company to then see which formats actually work. So Netflix have just announced that they intend to offer 50 mobile games for all of their subscribers by the end of this year. And during the recent Geeked event, they announced a couple of those. And many of them are, casual and mobile games that are based on their existing shows. So you're going to have a Queen's Gambit chess simulator where you have a sort of narrative and you can learn how to play chess, which is kind of, a classic 90s game.
If only there was another way for people to learn how to play chess.
There's a dating simulator game inspired by Too Hot to Handle coming in. They're going to expand further on their Stranger Things narratives, I think. And then alongside that, however, they've been buying up really well-regarded indie studios like Night School, who released the Oxenfree narrative game, which is like they're basically known to have these really well-constructed, character-driven and dialogue-driven games. So it's all sort of decision branching off of the interactions you have with other characters and thus the narrative completes. Also creepy as hell, and I highly recommend that game, Oxenfree. They have been acquired by Netflix recently, and then they also bought the Finnish developer Next Games, who have actually worked with Netflix previously to create some of their, again, narratively driven themed games for one of the existing shows. So they're building a fairly broad foundation to explore the entire space of mobile gaming. And I think it's an interesting move because we've been talking so much about the metaverse recently, right? And we at Stylus have been quite adamant about noting that we're really just talking about metaverse-like spaces, and a lot of that thrust and energy is going to come out of the gaming sector primarily. But be that as it may, as these kind of experiences where people go into a virtual or digital space that's provided by a brand or a publisher to be there and experience it and kind of have this sort of game-like live experience and interaction proliferate, these ways of experiencing content or messaging are actually going to become much more popular. Which sounds complicated, but basically all I'm saying is people are going to want to have more interactive experiences, and mobile games particularly play a huge role here. Smartphones have a huge penetration in terms of hardware globally, and because they're comparatively small games, they're usually easy to pick up. So there's not like a steep learning curve as you have with really complex console or PC games, which actually means that mobile gaming already takes up 52% of the revenue of the entire gaming market. So it's a huge sector of gaming, and it's already the main access portal into this space in general. So exploring mobile gaming as another avenue for you to kind of provide these cross-category experiences and let your fans of, if you're a narrative publisher like Netflix is, actively experience your storytelling as well as passively consuming it, I think is a really smart expansion of their brand. And considering that they've been struggling a bit with subscriber retention recently, I'm not that
Yeah.
surprised that they're going hard on this.